This is Ayman Khan here for Boxing Social in association with Betfred, with the one and only Jordan and the Thrill Gill in Sheffield. Jordan, first of all, how you doing?
I'm good, mate. Thanks. How are you?
Yeah, I'm not too bad at all the better for speaking to you. Jordan, good to see you here. Let's talk about yourself first. You had a thrilling encounter earlier in the year. Where are you right now? I spoke to Dave about your progression. He said you've got your back punching now with all the injuries and the exciting fight that you had beforehand. But in your own words, where are you at now?
Yeah, I'm feeling good. I feel like I could fight in 8 weeks or so. So I'll be ready to end of September, early October time, looking for a big fight.
Just reflect on that fight, which is a fantastic fight. I remember being there, and there were so many shocked faces when you landed that punch, and the elation of the crowd as well. Just reflect on that night.
My face wasn't shocked, was it? So yeah, it was a good night. All's well that ends well, as they say. For me, in that fight, I had to dig down. I had to show something I hadn't shown before. I was behind on the cards. I think I was 2 or 3 rounds down on all cards. Everything that could have gone wrong for me went wrong. I was going into the fight. I had a knee injury, which was actually quite bad, and I had to have a lot of recovery after for it. I had a hand operation booked in for the month after the fight as well, and things just didn't go to plan from the start. I was getting nailed with right hands because my movement was compromised, and yeah, I just had to find a way to win, and that's what we did.
So did you feel like that side of you was something that we hadn't seen before and we needed to see, and then we did see, because we've seen you be flashy, seen you be agile, we've seen you with the combinations, but that dog in you, that ability to have that one punch KO as well and setting that up too was something we hadn't seen before, and for you to show that to the fans, it kind of elevated you to a different level.
I think so. I think I've earned a lot of people's respect, but as far as saying did I need to show it, I don't think I needed to show it. As long as I know I've got it in there, then that's good enough for me. But I did need to show it, and I did show it, and I feel like I've earned people's respects, and I've taken myself to a new level in the way that I've had to do it under the lights in the ring, where a lot of people maybe would have folded, and I know I've got it in me, and to come through something like that with a positive and with a European title can only make me better, I think.
So when can we expect you out? You mentioned September. Would it be a defence of the European title? Is that the most likely path for you next?
Possibly. I've got a mandatory with the European title, a guy called Mauro Forte. So I've not seen too much of him, but I know he's southpaw, 17-0 from Italy, so it could possibly be him, unless a bigger fight's put to me. So we're in talks now. Hopefully there's a big fight on the horizon, but we'll see. I'll be ready end of September, early October.
Is there a name that you're targeting specifically? You mentioned there, if a big fight comes your way, you want that. Is there a name that's associated with that big fight that you want?
Yeah, not specifically for me. I'm on a path to where I need to be, and whatever comes for me. But a name that people are talking about is KIKO Martinez, and an eliminator for a world title. And if that fight's put to me and it makes sense, then we'll do it.
We have Hope Price, your stablemate, who's in the gym, was been in the ring recently, just then at the open workout. How's Hope been looking in the gym?
Fantastic, very, very good. He's a very well-rounded fighter, especially for his age. He's 22 now. He's starting to fill out. He's starting to get that man strength. You're starting to see every little muscle in his body, and he's been looking fantastic. He's not just a tall southpaw. He can do a bit of everything. His agility, his reflexes, his speed, his power. He's got such fast hands and such long levers that it's almost impossible not to be able to punch. So I think you're going to be able to see that on Saturday night. You're going to start to see him putting in more devastating knockouts like he has been.
Lerone as well. I spoke to Lerone yesterday. He's a little bit in flux at the moment, coming to the end of his matchroom deal, but hopefully a big fight in future for Lerone wherever he lands. Yeah,
for sure. I feel for Lerone a little bit because he's been consistently in the gym. Every week I've been in the gym. I'm looking at Lerone thinking, I'm coming back from an operation. I literally had they took the bone out of my hip and put it into my hand to reconstruct my hand, and I'm probably still going to fight before Lerone. So for me that's sad to see. He's been in the gym every week, grafting, keeping in good shape, trying to lift the spirits of everyone else at the same time, and he's a pleasure to work with, and he's a pleasure to have in the gym to watch and to learn from, because for me, skill for skill, he's one of the best fighters I've ever seen.
Let me get your thoughts on a couple of things in your division. First of all, Lee Wood, he's potentially you'll get the fight with Leo Santa Cruz. That's going to first bid, but there's also talk of a potential fight with Mauricio Lara. 2 fights either way, whichever one lands. Great fights in prospects. Your thoughts on that for Lee?
Yeah, fantastic. You know, he's got to that level now. He's won the world title. He's defending the world title against his mandatory. He deserves a massive fight, and that's what he's going to get. So I had a good chat with him I think it was last week on the phone. I probably had spent about half an hour on the phone, and yeah, he was just saying how excited he is for all these fights. You know, he wants all the smoke. He's ready to go in these big fights, and you know, he's the A-side now because he's earned that right. So I'm excited for him. I think it's sad what the WBA have done with the split. I think it should at least be 50-50, if not the other way, in favour of Lee, because Lee's been active. Lee's won the world title. Leo Santa Cruz hasn't been active. You know, he's not defending that world title in about 3 years. So, you know, it's a little bit sad to see. I think Lee deserves that big fight against Leo Santa Cruz, but if he chooses to fight Lara or whoever else he chooses to fight, it's going to be a big fight, because now Lee's an attraction, Lee's a draw, so he's earned that right, and I hope that he milks every second of it and makes the most of it.
The other side is Josh Warrington as well. He's got a mandatory defence against his name slips my mind, but the gentleman...
Luis Alberto Lopez.
Luis Alberto Lopez, thank you so much, Jordan. We saw him recently in the ring against Isaac Lowe as well, did a job on Isaac. Your thoughts on that fight, Josh Warrington and Lopez?
Yeah, it's a very tricky fight. It's a very hard fight for Josh Warrington stylistically. I think it's a good fight. It's a fight that the fans are in for a treat for, but at the same time, I do feel a little bit sorry for Josh Warrington, because, you know, he's been begging for that away day, begging for a big unification fight, and he's got a very good resume and beat some big names, and, you know, he's a nice guy, and I'd like to see Josh Warrington get that big fight that he deserves. And, you know, even if him and Lee Wood fought, I think that'd be a massive fight. It's a unification fight, and it's a fight that it would catch the imagination of the public, whether it would be not on a forest ground, whether it be at Leeds Stadium, but, you know, maybe that's the fight that he should do instead of the mandatory or instead of Lara. But, you know, the mandatories are there for a reason. They have to be enforced, especially with the IBF. So, you know, it is what it is. I think it's a great fight. I think Warrington is in for a hard night with Luis Alberto Lopez. I think he's a good fighter. He can punch. He is a little bit unorthodox. Stylistically, he's a very tricky, and he comes in from different angles, and it's something that I'm not saying that Warrington hasn't seen before, but I think stylistically it's going to be a challenge for him. But, you know, I think he could win, and I'd love to see him win. I'd love to see him in the big fights and fight my mate Lee.
One more final thing I want to get your thoughts on, and I'll bring it back to you. Big rematch coming up, heavyweight division, Usyk AJ2. Your prediction for that fight?
Again, it's a hard fight. I think whoever makes more changes in that fight from the first fight wins. I'll be surprised if Anthony Joshua wins, to be honest. I think he's got the power, and if he applies himself well, I think he's definitely got a good chance. But for me, Usyk's at a different level, you know, as far as natural boxing ability goes, as far as, you know, his fundamentals, as far as his ring IQ, the way he moves, the way he sets things up, the way he feints and you know, draws the lead and counters. I just think, you know, he's a very, very special fighter, and I'll put him, you know, top 3 in my pound for pound boxers.
Bringing it back to you, you mentioned KIKO Martinez as a potential fight for you down the line. Stylistically, how does the fight between Jordan Gill and KIKO Martinez play out?
He's an horrible little man, and he's a horrible little man. I think, saying to Chris Lloyd earlier, I thought he's the last person you choose to fight, you know, coming off a hand injury, a hand operation. It's like going to be hitting a bowling ball. But, you know, I think with KIKO Martinez, you know what you're going to get. He comes forward, he gives it everything, he throws in combinations, he can punch, you know, even though he got beat by Josh Warrington, he broke his jaw, he was down, he was up, it was a great fight. You know, he come off a big knockout against Kid Galahad for IBF world title. You know, he's 2-time 2-weight world champion, and he's a serious fighter. So, you know, I think stylistically it's a hard fight, but you know what you're going to get with KIKO. So I'd have to be sharp, I'd have to be, you know, moving and doing something that maybe I've not shown again in a boxing ring. So it's an exciting fight. They're the sort of fights that get me excited, and I'm sure the fans will be excited as well. If it happens, we'll see.
100% fans will be excited. Jordan, it's been a pleasure speaking to you. Thank you so much for speaking to Boxing Social. Looking forward to seeing you in the ring very soon. Thank you so much. Much appreciated.